The Cincinnati Reds are fun again, actually, and we have a lot to talk about here on the Friday edition of the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. We are sponsored today by BatFlip. Tell you a little bit more about them in a little bit here, but Clay Link of RotoWire, along with FSWA Hall of Famer Todd Zola, as usual on this Friday. Good to be with you, Todd. It has been a fun week. Andrew Abbott on Monday, and then Ellie De La Cruz, and I've been pretty critical of the Reds. They are my team, but over the past year plus with the whole Phil Castellini, where you're going to go thing, and the rest with them, but it's finally starting to pay off, and finally have a team with a young core that's really fun to root for and watch every night. So things are trending up in my world. How are you doing, Todd?
Well, I'm a Red Sox fan, so let's just move on.
Well, you've had a couple decades of success to enjoy since us Reds fans last did.
Well, we're also the Sox are like that typical fantasy team that wins and is in last, and wins and is in last. So we've also had a few last place seasons, and we're headed there again. Who knows what the team is headed this year? But anyway,
I held on to Chris Sale. Do you believe that it's actually minor that they're saying? I haven't really seen much else aside from that. Cora was hoping that it would be minor.
Well, there's no other than history, which is pretty serious. Then I don't think they'd lie about it. So we're just kind of waiting. I think they're being a little bit cautious, and I know this is all about the Reds, but with little Red Sox, the team is quietly going to a youth movement within the rotation. Cutter Crawford has joined the rotation. Corey Kluber and Nick Pivetta are now in the bullpen. They didn't make a big deal of it, but I think it's clear that Boston wants to see what they have, knock on wood, before making some moves in the offseason to pretend that they have a Boston payroll and can play with the big boys. So I think it's a good time to check out the Crawfords and the Houts and the Whitlocks, etc. Brian Bayo is sort of a fixture at this point. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, man, it's kind of an interesting period for them, and tough division, but the Reds are not in a tough division, and they're kind of suddenly, they're not right at the very top, but they're in the middle of that division and looking like they could be kind of fun. I mentioned last week that Ellie De La Cruz was already stashed in the stake league. Andrew Abbott picked up this week for 22. He was picked up in a lot of leagues earlier this week, but I think the Reds, these two Reds players, are going to be the big free agent acquisitions, and Ellie De La Cruz may be the big free agent ticket item of the whole entire season. Do you expect to end up with Ellie De La Cruz anywhere, or is that unrealistic for you at this point?
For me, I don't know. I have to see a couple of leagues where I've sort of, all right, I can get one big move. We kind of joke, this is the week to do it. Well, until someone comes along next week, right? Someone always keeps coming along. We'll see if this is the week that I, in a couple of leagues, make a big move. I don't know, but yes, you have to hedge, because that's what nerds and professional prognosticators like me do. There's a chance that De La Cruz struggles and is sent down, aka like Jordan Walker as the most recent example. So do you bid as if he's going to play 90 games the remaining of the season, or you have to in order to get him. But the projection should be for 70, or it can't be. So, but this is where you're going to throw that stuff away, and if you need him, you go out and get him. I expected him to steal some bases against Syndergaard. I was disappointed. He had a homer and a triple.
Then he did add his first steal. I know. Maybe that was yesterday, but it was. It's pretty fun to watch. He's lighting up the StatCast radar guns, and it's pretty exciting. I slotted him in just inside the top 100 right upon call up. That may It feels a little high, maybe. 92 is where I put him. I just, speed, power, it's kind of a lot to ask of a young kid to, perform as a top 100 player right away. But with these tools, I don't know how I could put him any lower than that.
Well, I could. It's very easy because
Well,
what's the precedent? It's just very rare. I'd rather be wrong 8 out of 10 times than be able to say I got it right those 1 or 2 times. The precedent is for players not in this regard. Now, you doing the list, you have your own, it has its own personality. If it's for right now, all right, I can see Cruz being in the top 100. If it's rest of season, I think we have to temper it a bit. Like I said, he may struggle. So every list is contextual, and you have to have to understand what it's whatever, not just your list, any list, what it is it's trying to get across, and then massage it in context to your league.
That's good points, and that applies to really everything fantasy related. Well, Todd, I mentioned Andrew Abbott picked up. He was pretty darn impressive. He goes for the same price this morning as AJ Smith-Shawver, who's starting tonight, making his first big league starting debut out of the bullpen. But James Anderson has him as the top prospect in that Atlanta organization. So kind of a toss-up here, at least in the stake league. Who would you rather have between Abbott and Smith-Shawver if you have a preference?
Don't you mean to say the next Spencer Strider?
Hey, I mean, it could be. Talk about putting a lot of expectations.
I think if you're asking me which of these unproven rookies you'd rather have, it's the one with the upside, and that's AJ, right? I think.
I think Abbott's got some upside too, but
I think
tough team context, obviously.
Yeah, I think AJ has a higher. The reason I'm saying AJ, it's Smith. I forget what his last.
Shawver.
Yes, Smith-Shawver.
Smith-Shawver. Yeah.
I forget. So I'm not like his bud. I can call him AJ. I just forgot what the Shawver was. I think Smith-Shawver has a higher ceiling.
You do.
I think Abbott may be safer. They're both hitting parks. Smith-Shawver's got a better context as far as support goes. Does he have a better? Yes, he has a better bullpen. He has a much better bullpen. Abbott may have a better closer, but
he may have the best closer in baseball.
Right, he may. Is Diaz the one that hasn't blown one yet, or at least has the most saves without blowing one? 16 for 16, something like that.
I thought he was like 14 for 14, but yeah, something. He's been
check the box scores. I think he's got a couple more.
Did he get a couple?
Or maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. But I do a daily piece for ESPN, and I think
he's got 14.
All right, then I'm the idiot. Then I should check the box scores. Then someone just went up to 16. I forget who it is. Anyway, maybe Duvall. But he's blown a couple.
Without blowing one? Yeah, who? I feel like it should be obvious, but I'm blanking on
no big deal.
Who that would be.
But I would rather have Smith-Shawver over Abbott right now. But I think Abbott has a better pathway to starts.
Yeah, because Ashcraft has been real rocky lately, and Brandon Williamson still tentatively holding down a spot for the Reds. So yeah, I think Abbott's pretty well locked in, but I kind of see him as the rest of the RotoWire Stake League crew does, as kind of being on par. And then offensively, big drop from those two guys down to $7 for Joe Adell. Now, he was crushing it on the farm as he usually does, but it's that step up to the majors that's been so tough for him. Do you think this is anything more than just a short term while Hunter Renfroe's away? Because Hunter Renfroe's just on paternity leave.
Correct. And there's already a bit of a log jam with Turner Ward and Mickey Moniak kind of alternating that spot without either of them really losing it, or Ward did lose it, but he's playing a little bit better now. So there's a bit of a log jam, and I don't know. I'm thinking, can you ease it a bit with the DH? No, I don't think so. I don't think the DH on that team is going to go anywhere, right, Shohei? So I don't think you can ease it with the DH. So, if he hits, though, you got to think it's going to do something. And he hit his first homer. Was it last night? So,
yeah.
Something's going to give at some point. I mean, Moniak has created a logjam. Mickey Moniak has created a logjam. So, I think Adell has a chance to stay, but I don't know if I'd bid on him, assuming he will. That's not Hall of Fame advice, but I mean, I don't know what else to go there.
Well, it is tough because it's just so hard to forecast, especially a guy who's been up several times and just has had trouble sticking around.
Yeah.
Hard to forecast what his playing time will look like. Taylor Ward's been one of the bigger disappointments in all of fantasy this year. 679 OPS for Taylor Ward. I guess it does look like a logjam, but this is not like some great team.
Right.
They're okay, but maybe they find a spot, but it is kind of hard to see the pathway clearly on the depth chart.
This is sort of like my fantasy teams in that I don't have anybody that's playing bad enough to release, but they're not playing well enough for me to compete either.
Yeah.
It's just maybe that's team construction. I need to go a little more Starbsy, Scrubsy, or take a chance on some higher upside players. It may be my approach. To answer to people still, so you guys don't have to Google out there either live or as you're watching, listening to the repeat, is Carlos Estevez, who I was thinking of, who has 16 saves without any blown saves.
Right. I want to say too that Star Platinum in the chat mentioned that Graham Ashcraft went on the IL today, so that's a good catch.
Now, does he have an actual injury, or is he like that fake blister?
It might be a phantom thing. They're calling it a calf. But it might be. I mean, it's performance-wise, it's been just brutal. So
yeah,
it might be a phantom IL thing.
The Dodgers, I mean, they're not even lying about it, right? We're putting Syndergaard on the IL for a reset. Oh yeah, he's got a blister too.
Yeah,
they're not even pretending that already he chipped his fingernail. Maybe I don't know. I'm being a little.
At least the Blue Jays were honest and sent Manoah to the Florida Complex League or whatever it was.
Have you? I mean, it's been assumed that it has to do with getting used to the pitch clock, but there's some interesting data, interesting threads on Twitter, and just pieces out there about just how hard it has been for Manoah to adjust to the pitch clock. So we'll see if he's able to.
Saw the thing today about the pitch clock in Philadelphia. Maybe
those
being
cheaters.
Hot.
Those cheaters. Yeah. So for those who haven't seen it, it's in The Athletic, and I think you can read about it. You don't have to subscribe. There's enough stuff about it on Twitter, etc. It's not so much that the clock is moving faster, but the people in charge of when to start it, maybe hitting the button a little early. Mm-hmm. But the oddity about that is, it's not like a Philadelphia crew. There's a rotating crew that goes through. So it's not like the same person is just not starting it when everybody else is. It's just odd. And the MLB knows about it. The Phillies know about it. The opposing teams know about it. You check out the number of infractions per park, and it's not just ahead. It's significantly, when I say significantly, I mean statistically, standard deviations wise, ahead. That it's not just random. There's something going on in that park, and part of it they think it has to do with the fouls. One of the weird parts about this is a direction you didn't think we were going today, Clay. One of the things about Citizens Bank, it leads the league in foul pop-ups, and it must just be the way it's shaped where the foul ground is. It's one of the reasons why it's a somewhat of a pitcher's park, even though it's a home run park, is because there's more pop-outs. So all these, some of these pop-outs and these fouls, the pitcher, you're supposed to start the clock when the pitcher's on the mound, but sometimes the pitcher will receive the ball, on the grass and then walk to the mound. And so some of it just the nuances of the park, and they're just not starting the clock at the right time. But Wheeler, Nola, maybe is part of their slow start, but they seem to have gotten their act together now.
Yeah, really strange how that's not uniform. And they didn't make a point to make that uniform across the league on opening day, but
Well, I think they did.
we'll get there.
But
well, clearly it didn't work out.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's right. I mean, you can say, well, what they say is the clock should start as soon as when the pitcher has the ball and he's on the mound. Some of them wait till it's on the rubber. Some of them wait, some of them, again, if you receive the ball from the infielder on the green, he's got the ball. So it's not, the rules are set. It's those that are in charge of adhering to them may not be doing it, which is what needs to be checked.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, elsewhere in the Stake League, Trevor May picked up for 6. He got his first save of the year on Wednesday. Would you bother here? I mean, there haven't been a ton of new closers into the pool in recent weeks. So would you go after Trevor May if you need a closer?
No, I mean, the number of save opportunities that are being generated in Oakland are few and far between. And Trevor May is simply not very good. Remember, I don't remember if you were with us in Florida. Yeah, there's always one pitcher that Doug Dennis, he's horrible. Well, Trevor May was his, picking on pitcher this spring, and he's 5.93 ERA, 1.76 WHIP. Saves come with 9 strikeouts and 13 2/3. No, I'm not going anywhere near him.
Yeah, a guy like Justin Lawrence was the guy on some. I actually picked him up in one league last week. It's just closer options have been few and far between, so I get why.
Yeah,
he was at least picked up here, even if the outlook isn't great for Trevor.
I wonder if that's because teams in general are spreading saves around a little bit, so that there's already a natural either the player's already on a team, Adam Ottavino's already on a team, Yanier Cano's already on a team, or there just isn't as much turnover for whatever reason this year. But you're right.
Well, at least in recent weeks, it feels that way.
Yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. But yet people still are a little slow to trust Craig Kimbrell, for an example, who's absolutely crushed it lately.
Yeah, he's been fantastic.
Yes, but yet you look at, say, the ESPN roster ships, and it's below 50%. So it's interesting that there's some of the, you can't pull the trigger. I don't want to watch him, but I he's doing the job anyway.
Never watch your closer. Never ever do it. Well, I said last week that Julio Teheran was one of the bigger. He was just a sucker play, and of course I'm the sucker.
I don't know.
Goes out and shoves against the Reds, and then he's got Oakland.
Shove?
Maybe not shove, but he pitched pretty well.
I guess it depends upon if you believe strikeouts are necessary to use for shoving. I mean, he got good results.
He got good results. That's the better way to put it. Against Oakland, he may shove or just get good results. But either way, I mean, I guess I have to start considering Teheran. He goes for 5. I probably wouldn't have gone more than even 0. I didn't have a bid on him, but people are finally starting to scoop up Teheran where he's still lingering.
So, I mean, that's one of those weird. I mean, how do you define shove? 6 1/3 innings, 5 strikeouts, 1 walk. That's good. I mean, one another strikeout, but it's fine. 2 homers, but he only gave up 2 runs. So the homers were timed when no one was on base. If one or both of those homers had a guy on, which people can say, well, he pitched differently. It's a matter of timing. The next time he gives up 2 homers, he may give up 5 runs. So I as James Anderson mentioned on the show, the satellite show that I did right before us, there were 8 people that bid on it in your league. Were there 8 smart people, or were there 8 suckers? And I don't think there are 8 suckers, but I think there are 8 people who wish that are going to one of which will regret winning him.
Yeah, that could end up being the case for sure. Well, let's power through the rest of these. I'll just rattle them off because there are a ton.
All right.
Snake League really does not. People are not letting their foot off the gas pedal, which I respect. But
it's one of those. I think there's a certain level of people talk with TGFBI and the Nerf and Earth leagues. We care. We want to beat our colleagues. We want to beat our friends. A lot of it. I mean, I want to win those leagues more than the money leagues, I think. So the fact that it's an internal league and 80s is going to be making fun of the other 80s that aren't, that are spending and eating. I think there's a lot of pride. I love things like this.
Yeah, it's a really efficient kind of market here, and everybody's putting in bids and scratching and clawing. The standings are still very fluid, by the way. I mean, I've risen a lot. The guy, I think it was maybe Andrew Parr, who was lower. He's now in the eating territory, not in the buyer range. So a lot can still change. The standings are still very fluid. So the rest of the pickups here: Daniel Lynch for 4, Wandy Peralta for 4, Cutter Crawford of your Red Sox for 3, Brian Wu, who's kind of interesting, struggled in his debut, but going to stick in that rotation for Seattle. He goes for $3. Will Brennan for 3, Bowden Francis, reliever for the Blue Jays. I've kind of heard a little bit about. He goes for 2, Jamison Tyone for 2, and then Emmanuel Valdez for 2. Ramon Urias for 2. Jake Myers for $1. Gary Sanchez for $1. Edward Alzolay for $1. And then into the $0 pickups, Paul Blackburn, excuse me, Patrick Corbin, Grayson Rodriguez. I picked up Josh Donaldson for $0, dropping Nelson Cruz, mostly just to upgrade a bench spot potentially. Luis Matos, Victor Robles, Derek Hall, Jace Peterson, James Karinchak, Dylan Moore, Alec Burleson, Luke Weaver, and Heston Kierstad stashed. I think Kierstad just moved up to AAA, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, busy week again.
Who picked up Tyone for 2?
Yeah, by the way, Kierstad was just promoted in recent days to AAA. All right, let's see. Who do you say?
Jamison Tyone. Who got him for 2?
Let's see. Stick of Truth. So that would be Chris Benzine.
Nice job. Of all those names, that's just the way our mind works. I mean, Tyone last year was an excellent pitcher, had some struggles, is due some regression, tweaking his pitches. Out of any name you've ever named in the stake league, I want Jamison Tyone for 2.
It has been really ugly for him, but I do think the baseline expectation for him is a lot lower than a 7.02 ERA, 1.54 WHIP.
The expected really numbers are much better than that. Mm-hmm. And this time last year, he was an above-average pitcher. So the Cubs, the context is not great, but I mean, some of the names that you mentioned, I'd rather more expensive and more of a risk than Jamison Tyone. We'll see.
Well, we'll get into rival fantasy here shortly, but first I want to tell you a little bit about BatFlip, our sponsor this week. BatFlip, the team shuffling baseball card game, is a gamer's love letter to baseball. Step into the role of manager, build your team, shuffle it up, and deploy it in an action-packed 3-inning game. Each of the over 140 player cards is unique with its own special stats and abilities. Each team has its own powers and strategy. Flex your financial muscles as the New York Moneybags. Button steal your way to victory as the Sauk City Small Ballers. Or deliver takeout slides and headhunting pitches as the Detroit Dirtbags. 12 teams in all. BatFlip was designed by avid fantasy baseball players and made its pre-release debut at First Pitch Arizona 2021. I remember that. It's been played by the likes of Ron Chandler, Eno Saris, Ray Murphy, and Phil Goyette. Did you grow up collecting baseball cards? Do you collect them now? Then BatFlip is for you. Do you like collectible card games like Magic the Gathering or the Pokemon card game? Do you like online card games like Hearthstone or Marvel Snap? Then BatFlip is for you. BatFlip features fast-paced strategic card play and endless replayability. Utilize your best players and special abilities at the most pivotal moments. And then when the time is just right, swing for the fences and flip that bat. Order your copy now at batflipgame.com. That's batflipgame.com. Hell of a bat flip by Ozzy Albies yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
On that walk-off, by the way. Tough spot the Mets are in. Sounds like they're going to lose Pete Alonso.
Yeah.
Although I am still waiting to see if that move's official.
I thought it was. I thought he's on the IL.
It's coming. So, I mean, after they, for the first time in franchise history, blow 3 games that they're leading by 3 runs in a row,
Yep,
And lose Pete Alonso, it's looking rough.
We have it on the site. Michael Mayer of Metsmerizedonline.com says he's going to the IL. Mark Vientos going to play first baseman. Now, Vientos, and neither the Vientos nor Albies had a hit in that slugfest heading into the 10th inning. One of the two of them got a hit. Albies had the walk-off homer. Vientos is one of those, he must have done well. We scored 10 runs or whatever. And he's the guy that had the offer. I think Olsen was 1 for 6 in that game. Don't you hate that? When you see it, you got a guy at a team that scores 13 runs and you check on the box score and he's 1 for 6.
Mm-hmm. Oh, totally. I mean, I remember doing that with the Reds finally had a huge game earlier this year, and Spencer Steer was the only one who didn't have a hit. And he was the only one I had in my fantasy lineup. It was stunning at the time.
Way it goes.
Well, let's talk a little bit about rival as Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner makes his arrival to your place, apparently, Todd. That was a very obscure reference. But Scott Steiner had a great alarm/siren theme song back in the day. Talk a little rival, and your number one pick is a guy that I'm surprised to see his over-under is, only the fifth highest on the board. Shohei Ohtani, he's below Garrett Cole, Luis Castillo, Andrew Heaney, and Yu Darvish. So you're just, this does feel like a little bit of a lower projection than it should be. 18.78 points for Ohtani. Right,
and I think Seattle's just not that good a team, offensive wise, and they strike out. So there's never an automatic in this, especially in this sort of thing. But as I've talked about, I prefer to go the under because it's so many more things have to go. So many things have to go right to get the over. But I took the over. I think I've taken the over in a couple of pitches today. There's at least 4 that I like. So I'll mess around with different combinations a little bit later. But yeah, Ohtani. Plus, hey, how much fun is it watching a game and rooting for Ohtani? It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It seems like I don't want to curse your pick here, but should be a layup. Although Luis Castillo on the other side makes it kind of tough for the win, but they are favored slightly at home, -115.
And you don't need the win
for only 7.5 runs.
To get over 18 points. He doesn't need the win, right? Just needs to go 5 to 6 innings and get 6 or so strikeouts.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think my first choice is going to be over on Christian Javier. I mean, just going against Cleveland, this Cleveland team, I haven't looked at the numbers lately, but feel like one of the worst offenses I've seen in a while. They are slight favorites on the road. Logan Allen on the other side has pitched really well, but 7-1, 2.84 ERA. And this number is really one that you don't need the win on. 14.93 points. Sign me up for Christian Javier all day.
Yeah, now I think it's low because the Indians don't. Here I go again. The Guardians don't strike out very much. But, I have my projection is for 18.9. So I may have to add Javier as well.
Who's next up for you?
Yeah, I look for a 2 or 3 point differential. Next up, if I'm not using Javier, I did do a couple of unders, more comfortable. Andrew Heaney, under 19.24, which to me is kind of a big number against Tampa, who just grinds you and grinds you and grinds you. So I actually like Javier, and I think Kelly over 17. Merrill Kelly, who I'll talk about in a second. I may drop Heaney to my secondary list of secondary tries, but I haven't listed number 2, so I'll go number 2. I like him as a pitcher, but just Tampa's just so good.
Yeah, same. That's a tough one, but I'm a little surprised to see him as the 3rd highest over-under on the board because as good as Heaney's been, that is a really tough matchup to run into, Tampa Bay. So I'm tempted to go with a hitter, but Rich Hill at 16.96 just feels a little high to me, doesn't it?
Well,
I'm
he's
wrong,
my.
but
I good. I won't have to talk about him. I can go to Merrill Kelly when I go next. But yes, he's on my list for under.
now I see that you sent me that earlier, so it
Yeah.
seems like I'm just ripping you off, but I promise.
No, not at all.
Well,
And you should always take who you feel. If we both agree,
yeah,
that
it's good.
it's people want to follow and tail us, that's even better. But yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
I have
Against the
Rich Hill
Mets,
going in one league, and yeah, the Mets are just so bad, right now, but I don't think it could get much worse for the Mets. Maybe it's a time to capitalize on how bad things are going, but I think they maybe come out with a little fire after that Atlanta series. Maybe they're a little ticked off.
yeah, I mean,
and maybe that's narrative driven, but I mean, it is 43-year-old Rich Hill we're talking about.
we do need to also point out there's some weather going on. Not just the smoky stuff, but there's a little weather going on the East Coast. So check out the New York game. Actually, is that? I mean, I know the Red Sox are in New York.
That one's in Pittsburgh.
I was going to say, okay, but that's another city where it's in danger. Washington, it's weird.
Baltimore's got some rain.
Yeah, Boston, outside of Boston, haven't noticed the smoky stuff. It's weird.
Well, that's good for you.
Maybe I'm just not noticing it, which isn't good because that means that it's always like this. But anyway, so that gives me the opportunity to say Merrill Kelly over 17.47, which I don't, really, it's Merrill Kelly is pitching really, really well. And he's going deep into ball games, and he's at Detroit. So I really like Kelly in this game.
Yeah, they're favored here on the road and in Detroit. Still such a pitcher's park and a bad team. So, yeah, I was looking at some of the numbers of Javier Baez since joining the Tigers, and oh man, it's getting to a point where I don't know what the future is looking like for Baez, but it's kind of emblematic of the whole team, his issues. I like that, and I'll just say too with Rich Hill, Pirates slight favorites here, but over-under is 9.5 runs. So wind blowing out 9 miles per hour in Pittsburgh. So
yep,
I just Rich Hill's still can get the job done, but I just think 16.96 is a little high.
Yeah.
Anybody else on the rival board that stands out to you?
Yeah. So real quick, I did take 3 hitters, and again, it's not the best odds, but I like to root for my hitters to go over, so I'll take some overs. I'll put more money onto the pitchers, and I just have fun with the hitters. Mookie Betts over 8.8. Again, this is DraftKings type scoring, so to get 8.8, I mean, a home run's 14, 16 when you include the when you include the run and RBI, it's like 14. So you just need a couple hits and a run or something like that. 8.8 over Ranger Suarez. Bryce Harper, 8.4 over Michael Grove. And Manny Machado, which I need to make sure he's in the lineup. I'm pretty sure he is. 8 in Colorado with Austin Gomber on the mound. So they all have the platoon advantage over, I mean, Suarez is okay, but, middling pitchers. So I think they're easy spots to root for.
Well, I got you there. That sounds good to me. I got our 2-star pitchers queued up, but before we move on to 2-star pitchers for next week, I'll tell you a little bit more about the rival fantasy game that we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
A new MLB season means it's time for a new kind of daily fantasy baseball. Rival Fantasy is the fantasy platform reinventing the way daily and weekly games are played. And they brought new games to the ballpark this year that fantasy players won't find anywhere else. Rival Fantasy's games include Fantasy Bingo, head-to-head player challenges, and Fantasy Book, which Todd and I have been playing. Users in Fantasy Book can select over-unders for 2 to 5 players. With games like this, daily fantasy has never been better. Right now, RotoWire listeners can get a $50 protected first play. That means if you win your first play, you keep your winnings. But if you lose your first entry, Rival Fantasy will fully refund you up to $50. Go to play.rivalfantasy.com/sign up and use code RotoWireMLB. At sign up and deposit a minimum of $25 to get your first entry on Rival protected up to $50. Now's the time to step up to the plate and become a Rival today. Welcome to the arena. All right, Todd, 2-star pitchers for next week. the week of June 12th. Tommy Henry burned some fantasy players. It's really hard to time these right, and those who picked them up for the Nationals outing were stuck with 4 2/3 innings of 5 run ball, more walks than Ks. So it can fall apart in a hurry, fall apart as quickly as it came together for Tommy Henry. And next week it's tentatively versus Philly versus Cleveland, 2 home starts. I'm tempted to go 2 because of the matchups, but that could be another trap play.
Yeah, a lot of home runs given up, multiple home runs in 3 of the past 5 games. I was thinking 1. I think I'm going to stay at 1 because it's just that 7-inning stint against Colorado looks to be the outlier. I'm going to stay 1.
Makes sense to me. And then what about Zach Davies? Same for him versus Philadelphia versus Cleveland. Struck out 8 his last time out. It's a pretty good outing. Is that Washington? Yeah, I think I'm going to give him a 2 as well, Zach Davies.
I'm going to give him a 1. He's not hurting himself with home runs and walks, but you know what? I agree. I'm going to go 2. Yeah. Because he's not hurting himself with home runs and walks. The game is at home. The offense is scoring. So I will go up to a 2.
Sounds good to me. What about Charlie Morton at Detroit versus Colorado? That's pretty nice. And I don't think I want to go 5 here, but I think I'm going to go 4 on Morton. Spencer Strider's an obvious 5.
I'm going to go 5 with Morton. Those matchups. Yeah, those matchups. I mean, he's probably going to be ranked, I don't know, 16, 18, 19, something like that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. There seemed to be more 2-star. Last week, there weren't a lot of quality 2-star guys, so it made the rankings look weird. This week is a little bit more. Yeah, so long as he's not too shaken up over the Pete Alonso thing. He contacted Alonso after the game and apologized. It wasn't, I guess it was a hit batsman previous. He just wanted to make sure that Alonso knew it was just an accident, etc. And you're right about, what you say Strider's a 5. You know what his ERA is? Yes, he's a 5. Do you know what his ERA is up to?
2.
No, higher, much higher.
Really?
It's 3.79.
Huh. Yeah, so, I would have thought it was well below that.
That's the point. Now, yeah. I think expected ERA is a little bit lower, but he gave up 8 runs in the last outing and 4 innings to the Mets. He fanned 8 and walked 2. You do that, you're going to be okay. But the ERA kind of went almost a run up from 2.97 to 3.79 in that outing.
Well, Dean Kramer, the Orioles, was on a pretty nice run. He turned in a 2.55 ERA over a span of 6 starts, but then he kind of came back down to earth against Milwaukee on Wednesday. So 6 earned runs, 2 homers. Did have 5 Ks without a walk in that outing. Where are you at on Dean Kramer? Would you consider him versus Toronto at the Cubs?
It's one I think we talked about it last week. Toronto is going to explode at some point, right? I mean, they have to. I'm going to go 2. He's not walking a lot of batters, and he's getting a strikeout an inning over this bit of a stretch. This 4 or 5 game stretch that you mentioned. So I'm going to go 2.
Well, even though things for your Red Sox aren't great overall, James Paxton's been a really bright spot. He's, struck out at least 8 in 3 of his 5 outings. I'm sorry. Yeah, 3 of his 5. And I mean, everything looks pretty good. He's 36 to 9K to walk, only 4 homers in 26 innings. Kind of looking like the old James Paxton versus Colorado versus New York, both at home. I think I'm going to go 3, but it's kind of borderline 4.
It is, because Colorado against lefties is still terrible. The Yankees can get you, though. So I'm going to also say 3.
That's true.
But I think it's kind of like a 5 against Colorado, a 2 against New York, and I'm rounding down.
Yeah, so you're a 3 as well.
Yeah.
And then you said you like the Tyone pickup in the stake league. How do you like him for this two-step versus Pitt versus Baltimore? 7.02 ERA overall, but in this last outing wasn't so pretty, but he has shown some flashes at least recently.
Except the expected ERA is like 4.7. I looked it up when you were doing the ad, which is still high, but it's more reasonable. And he's tweaking his pitches. His swinging strike is down and his called strike is down, which means he's not fooling people. So I do expect him to figure things out. Both Pittsburgh and Baltimore are better offenses than one may think off the top of their head, but I'm gonna say 3, but I think I could have said 2 and been okay, but I'm gonna say 3.
Okay, I jotted down 2, but I got you down as a 3.
Yeah,
maybe I got him on the Davies mix, but I'd take him over Davies.
Oh, for sure. And I think it may just be a way to emphasize that I think he's going to get better.
Well, I said at the top of the show, the Reds are a lot of fun. It's finally paying off all these years of dedication. Finally have something to cheer for, but I still wouldn't trot out Luke Weaver. Now he is versus Kansas City, but then it's at Houston, and that's just playing with fire. So I'm going to go 0, I think, on Weaver.
I am as well. He's had a game or two here where you stack against him and you're kind of bummed about it. But consistently, kind of like Zach Davies. He's going to do that to you once in a while. He's going to pitch well.
And then you'll pick him up and then he'll burn you. So
yeah.
That probably will be the MO for Weaver and a lot of guys. Tanner Bybee. Now, I don't want to go 5, but I can't really justify any lower than a 4 on him, given how well he's pitched. Really like what I've seen from Bybee, so I'm going to go 4.
On the road, I don't like it. These offenses can do damage. He's gone 6.6, 5.5. All right, I'm going to go 4. But I think there's potential for his first rough outing of the season, but I'll go 4.
Now, the 2 Rockies 2-star pitchers are both on the road for 2. Connor Siebold and Chase Anderson. Chase Anderson's pitched okay. Jeez.
Keep in mind,
it's going to go 0s.
Keep in mind, it's the Connor Siebold revenge game.
Oh, huge narrative. I still think I'm going to go 0 on Siebold, but Anderson's pitched so well that I think I have to go. Geez, he's been routinely going 5+. This one feels like a trap, and I'm only going to say like a points league 1, but I'll give him a 1.
I'm going to go 0. I just think one of these 2 teams gets him.
Yeah, you're probably right. I'll probably regret going 1. Lance Lynn, jeez, one of my bigger misses. Looked to be kind of steadying the ship a little bit. Then he goes out and gives up 8 and then 5. So he had a stretch there where he allowed, just 4 earned runs over a span of 3 starts, 19 innings, but then back to being the bad Lance Lynn. So let me take another glance at these matchups. At the Dodgers, at Seattle. Good grief. I'm not going to go 0, but 2, I think.
See,
I don't even want to go 2. But
I can say this, hopefully without getting canceled or deleted or whatever, what we do now. Alek Manoah is having trouble with the pitch clock because he's a big guy and he's not able to, get his win back fast enough. I wonder if that's happening to Lance Lynn.
Yeah, it could be one where like these, one thing great about baseball is that these kind of beefy guys can succeed, but maybe those with poor conditioning are suffering as a result of the pitch.
I mean, I don't like to speculate, but I get winded jogging my memory. So I feel as though I can at least speak towards it without people making fun of me. Well, they make fun of me anyway, but anyway. So I wonder if that's, I didn't want to believe that about Manoah, but there's too much evidence otherwise at this point. I wonder. And it doesn't. And the other thing too is big guys could have decent cardiovascular. They're just big guys. Mm-hmm. So I may be all wet on this, but there's what's it? Circumstantial evidence, enough circumstantial evidence to wonder about it. All right, where are we with Lynn? Where am I going with Lynn? At LA, at Seattle. Wow, both on the road. I think I'm going to go 2, but I don't love it. I feel as though you get hit in one of those really hard.
Yeah, same. I went 2, but and there may be a league or two where I can't afford to sit him at the expense of a better player, but I probably will have to turn him loose in a couple of leagues. So it's a begrudging. I'll give him a 2 begrudgingly, but Lance Lynn, things are not looking great for him. Now, while you were talking a little bit, I looked at Reese Olson, Tyler Holton for Detroit, and both have pitched okay so far, but I need to see a little bit more. So I'm actually going to go 0 on both Reese Olson and Tyler Holton.
Are we sure that Holt? I mean, we have him down as the primary, but I mean, he hasn't gone. To me, he looks like an opener.
Yeah, he's pretty much an opener. So,
and we don't have anybody following him up, so I don't know exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that we know exactly what is going on in that regard. So you think Olson? No, we have Olson down as starting.
Could be Garrett Hill, who's a bulk reliever for that.
Yeah. I'll have to check my own depth chart to see.
But he only went. Oh man, yeah, I don't know. Tigers are gonna have to figure something out.
Yeah, no, they do have some guys potentially coming back kind of soon. Scooble's on rehab, or at least he's throwing bullpens, and so they may be getting some reinforcements. Michael Lorenzen's been kind of a nice shot in the arm. Faedo is out. Olson, other than the fact that he looks 12, I can't give him anything. I can't give him any. I have to give him a 0. And Holton / opener has to be a 0 as well.
Yeah, Holton's not even a guy to consider. I'll put him on the list, but I'll go 0. And, Olson's pitched okay, but he's gone 5 in his first 2 outings. But first is Atlanta at Minnesota.
All right, you know what? We'll give him a 1. We'll give him a
1?
We'll give him a 1.
All right.
But that's it. I'm going to call up my own depth charts out of curiosity to see what's going on there as far as who else could pitch.
Hunter Brown for Houston versus Washington versus Cincinnati. Pretty nice 2-step, although, my Reds are on the rise. But I would still say Hunter Brown, not going to go 5, but I'm going to give him a 4.
All right, I am as well.
Yeah. I'm loving some of these stories coming out about Zach Greinke lately. He's such a fun guy, but he is 1-6. Now he does get the Reds, and I'm going to start him in the stake league, but hard to recommend that to players in traditional leagues. He does face the Angels in the second one. I'm not saying, it's a terrible pickup if you need somebody, but such low K rates. I think I can only go 2 on Greinke.
I think it is a terrible pick. I'm going to say 1, but I'm not picking him up for it.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Thanks for not pulling any punches.
The K rate is the thing. You alluded to it, and strikeouts are a category. I don't care what your format is. Strikeouts matter.
Well, let's pause briefly to take care of one last piece of business. We'll throw to a quick word from our Blue Wire sponsors. All right, so welcome back to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Clay Link here with Todd Zola, FSWA Hall of Famer. We're making our way down the list of 2-star pitchers for next week, the week of June 12th, 2023. And Tyler Anderson's been one of the bigger bust free agent signings of the year so far. He did get a win, but he gave up 4 earned runs. His ERA is now up at 5.62. I really was kind of surprised he came back and got a win. The Angels offense, I guess, powered him because he was having a really rough start to that outing. Tyler Anderson, man, This is a great example of how important coaching and development staffs are. At Texas, at KC, ugh. I'm going to go 2.
I'm going to go 1.
Wow. I'm coming in a lot higher than you this week.
Texas is leading the league in runs.
Yeah, they are. Surprising. Tony Gonsolin, hell of a outing for him. I disagreed with John Sadak. I don't know if you were watching Ellie's debut, but he was saying that Gonsolin's a Cy Young contender this year. I don't think that's going to be the case, but he has been pitching really well. He was excellent last year through the first half versus the White Sox versus San Francisco. 2 at home. I think Gonsolin, I think I'm going to go 5, but 4. Actually, you know what? He's a 5. Who am I kidding?
Not me, because I'm saying 3. I'm sorry, 4. No, I mean, Gonsolin's ERA. No. Gonsolin's ERA is fine, but he's fan 30 with 16 walks in 40 innings, 40 and 2/3. So, I mean, it's not even a 2-to-1 K to walk ratio. Homers are down, but he's always homers down. No, I think there's a lot, 24 hits. There's just, again, a lot of luck. Doesn't that mean he's good? No, it means he's lucky again. I don't. It's one of these years I'm going to be right.
Just those matchups at home, I think, are just too juicy.
Well, but no, you don't strike batters out. You're vulnerable. I don't care who the lineup is. So I'm going to go 4.
Well, good points. Good points. Well, the Miami Marlins have an off day, and we're also projecting Trevor Rogers to return next week. So no 2-star pitchers for them. Trevor Rogers is set to make another rehab start for AAA Jacksonville this weekend. So if that is his last start, he could theoretically slot back in next week. The Brewers have 2 off days, so no 2-star pitchers for them. And then Pablo Lopez for Minnesota. This is a guy who kind of, at least for me, just routinely kind of underperforms his potential. I see so much potential in the guy. It's not like he's bad. Versus Milwaukee, versus Detroit, I think this is one where he kind of swings back to being the Pablo Lopez I think he can be. I'm going to go 4.
I'm tempted to go 5. I don't know what his expected ERA is, but 4.25 seems high with the 92 strikeouts and 78 in the third innings with 22. All right, 11 homers is the deal. So I'm sure his xFIP is much lower, and I don't mind these matchups. So I'm going to say 5. I'm not scared of Milwaukee anymore, and Detroit's Detroit.
Well, I hear you on that one. I think he's certainly a 5 potential type of guy. So you could see that
going up against Burns, who, by the way, as you know, is he's good again, folks.
Shocking, I know, but yes, he is. 2 off days for the Mets. They need him, so good for them. The Yankees also have 2 off days, but we're projecting Luis Severino. So we must be projecting what's up with the Yankees rotation?
Nestor Cortez is on he's now on the IL. Clark Schmidt is still in the rotation. Domingo Germán is still in the rotation. But I think
it was the Nestor thing.
Yeah. So I think that's probably what we're just assuming they're going to give Severino another start.
I think that makes sense to just not have a replacement for Cortez for this week at least. Maybe the following week they'll want to get one, but with 2 off days, I think they can manage a 4-man rotation this week. For Oakland, James Caprillion, Hogan Harris.
We didn't. You want to grade Severino?
Oh shoot, that's right. What do you got for Severino?
Interesting matchups. I'm going to give him a 4 because I think he's better than he's looked.
Yeah, I'll give him a 4 too. That's one where I mean, realistically, I'm probably starting. I'm hoping to recoup some of that value that I've lost due to poor performance so far. James Caprillion, Hollywood, Hogan Harris. Look, they got to face Tampa Bay, then Philly. I'm going to go 0 on both of them.
Yeah, in the interest of saving time, and I believe it's the right number, 0 for both.
Yes. All right, so we're getting through there. So we're coming up on an hour, and we will recap these grades once we're through. Dylan Covey, he's back, huh? Yeah, I just remember seeing that. You remember when he kind of was like a decent reliever for the White Sox? Now he's needed in that in that rotation, although he's not really pitching like a starting pitcher. 2/3 of an inning on May 28th and 2 innings June 3rd. So I'm going to go 0 on Covey. And then is Wheeler a 5 for you?
Yeah, I don't want to misspeak, but I kind of remember DVR liking Covey. I apologize, Derek, if I am not correct on that one.
We've all had our hits and misses. Oh,
no. Derek's had far more hits than misses.
Yeah. I'm going to go 5 on Wheeler.
Yep.
I mean, he's pitching a little better lately. So and he gets Oakland to end the week.
And it's you don't have the fast pitch clock in Oakland.
Yeah, that's true. Roansy Contreras been a big disappointment. And he faced Oakland his last time out and got rocked. Only managed to record 1 out.
Oh, and it was ugly. Yeah. Especially since he was my lead streamer of the day on ESPN. Oof. Oh man, was that? And I mean, Oakland. I mean, all right, they get paid to hit too, right? But and it wasn't like Contreras was pitching that poorly heading in. It was just one of those days. I mean, he hadn't done 4 innings, 2 innings. You know what? He was pitching kind of bad, but the 2 inning was just it was a relief stint, kind of a weird little thing. But he fanned 6 without walks against St. Louis, no walks, and I mean he wasn't that bad. But anyway, right? Does he bounce back? Ooh. Where are we? We're at Chicago and we're at Milwaukee. Oh, man. I don't love either of them. I'm going to go 2, but I may regret that.
I'm going 1 because I will look to see if he was dropped in some leagues and potentially add him.
I think you're probably closer to being right than I am.
It's not one I feel good about, though.
Because I don't think he wasn't pitching as well as I thought he was heading in. I'm remembering earlier in the year when he was going 6 innings a start and showing signs, but he has not kept that up.
Well, Joe Musgrove had that Mexico City game to deal with on his record. Otherwise, he's pitched pretty well. I mean, he's got a couple 4 spots on there. But aside from that Mexico City game, he's been okay. I expected him to be a 5. He's been more like a 4, but I think versus Cleveland, I guess versus Tampa Bay, I'm going to go 4, but I'm still waiting for the 5 Joe Musgrove.
Yeah, I'm going to go 4 because of this against strikeouts. Cleveland doesn't strike out. They don't score, but they don't strike out either.
What about Logan Gilbert versus Miami versus the White Sox? Tempted to go 5 here. What say you?
Yeah, I'm going to go 5. Yeah. You want to? I know we're running a little late, but I'm going to tweet this later. Felix Bautista has more strikeouts than George Kirby.
Really? Wow.
Yep, he's got more strikeouts than like Drew Smiley. I'll put the list out in a little while. But yeah, I mean Kirby catches your mind because he's so good, but he's just so control oriented and doesn't get the strikeouts. I think Kirby's strikeouts will pick up. But yeah, I just thought. I mean, that also speaks to how much the Orioles use Bautista, right? He's like 51st overall in MLB. MLB. That means if you're 51st, 51st. Well, there's 30 teams. That means there are not 2 starters on every team with more strikeouts than Felix Bautista.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And you do think Kirby's K's will come around, huh? It's not going to be like
I think he's
Manoah situation.
I think it's maybe an Aaron Nola situation where we didn't expect as many strikeouts. He's just too good not to figure out how to get more strikeouts.
Logan Webb, Alex Cobb at St. Louis at the Dodgers. Kind of a tough road 2-step for those guys. Man, I don't know. Logan Webb, I'm going to go... I think I'm going to go 4 on both of these guys, even though the matchups are tough. Actually, no, I'm going to go 4 on Webb 3 on Cobb.
I'm going to go 5 on Webb because I still believe he's a 5 and 3 on Cobb.
Okay, so 1 below my marks. You said 5 on Webb, 4 on Cobb?
Yeah.
All right, got you down there. Matthew Liberatore. Now, when he stepped into that rotation, he went 5, 1. Okay, so he's going. The best case scenario, you're probably getting 5, but it is versus San Francisco. Then at the Mets, maybe he stretches out a little more. Is able to handle a bit of a higher pitch count. I'm going to go 3 on Liberatore.
He's not missing bats. I think he is better than a 2, but I can only go 2 right now. I need to see it. Until he starts getting some strikeouts, I can't go higher.
Zach Eflin's got to be a 5, right? What about Yanni Chirinos? At Oakland, at San Diego.
Like the matchups, I'm gonna go. Where am I gonna go? I'm gonna go 3. I'm gonna go 2. No. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go 3.
On Yanni? All right.
Probably should go 2.
He's going to be a tempting pickup this week, I'll tell you that. Dane Dunning, John Gray. John Gray's been just off the charts lately. And Dunning's been fantastic as well. This Texas team has really come together quickly. Dane Dunning, John. I think both might be 4s.
I got to have Gray ahead of Dunning. I know that. So now it's just a matter of 5-4 or 4-3. I'm going to go 4-3.
Okay. 3 on Dunning.
Yeah. He's not getting strikeouts.
Chris Bassett at Baltimore, at Texas. With those matchups, I'm tempted to say just a 4, but he's been great. So I'll go 4.
No for me. I'm going to go 5. I mean,
5.
Any concern, Tirana, yeah. He's done really well lately. He had that one blip against the Twins, but I'm going to go 5. It's like a low-end 5, but I'm going to go 5.
And Jake Irvin's a 0, right?
Jake Irvin is a 0. Well, he's probably a nice human being, but as a pitcher this week,
I imagine he's a nice human being. All right, so let's recap our grades here. The week of June 12th, 2023. A lot of disagreements this week. Tommy Henry, I say 2, Todd 1. Zach Davies, 2. Charlie Morton, I say 4, Todd 5. Spencer Strider, 5. Dean Kramer, 2. James Paxton, 3. Jamison Tyone, I say 2, Todd 3. Luke Weaver, 0. Tanner Bybee, 4. Connor Siebold, 0. Chase Anderson, I say 1, Todd 0. Lance Lynn, 2. Reese Olson, I say 0, Todd 1. Tyler Holton's basically an opener, so he's a 0. Hunter Brown, 4. Zach Greinke, I say 2, Todd 1. Tyler Anderson, I say 2, Todd 1. Tony Gonsolin, I say 5, Todd 4. Pablo Lopez, I say 4, Todd 5. Luis Severino, 4. James Caprillion, 0. Hogan Harris, 0. Dylan Covey, 0. Zach Wheeler, 5. Roansy Contreras, I say 1, Todd 2. Joe Musgrove, 4. Logan Gilbert, 5. Logan Webb, I say 4, Todd 5. Alex Cobb, I say 3, Todd 4. Matthew Liberatore, I say 3, Todd 2. Zach Eflin, 5. Yanni Chirinos, 3. Dane Dunning, I say 4, Todd 3. John Gray, 4. Chris Bassett, I say 4, Todd 5. Finally, Jake Irvin is a 0. Not in real life, but for 2-star pitchers next week. Well, good stuff, Todd. Thanks for bearing with me. My voice I'm kind of losing it or something. But good show. Anything else on your mind today?
The tout table this week. It's one that I like, and that is, how do you go about improving your batting average?
That's a really hard one. I was trying to think, and it's a really tough one to do.
There's some game theory involved. There's some roster management, and there's player analysis. You can take that in a lot of different directions. So much so that the rest of today and this evening, I'll be writing a Z-Files about it, which hopefully will be up by time we're on Sirius tomorrow. And The piece itself will be posted tomorrow on toutwars.com. So we talk a lot about homers and pitching ratios. We don't talk a lot about how to improve your batting average, other than go get Luis Ariz.
Yeah, really tough category to improve in season. So I'm interested to see what some of the touts have to say. Well, good stuff. That'll do it for us. Thank you guys for listening to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast, brought to you by Batflip. We'll catch you next week. Have a great rest of your weekend, and go Reds, baby.